Hey you guys, it is me, Laura, and this year I'm doing something a little bit different for my curriculum. Instead of doing a review of the curriculum that we've done and then a separate video of what we're doing, I'm going to kind of put them together, but I'm separating them out. So first I'm going to do a video that talks about what we have done for our group subjects this year and what we are going to do, and then I'll have separate videos for each of my kids for their specific stuff and what they did last year and what we're changing this year and all that jazz. So to start out, we have our, some people call it boarding basket. I usually refer to it as loop subject, but it's what we do together as a group in the morning. And this past year for our devotional time, we had an audio Bible that we listened to on my phone in the mornings, and then we would also watch What's in the Bible with Buck Denver when it corresponded, as well as some videos from the Big Picture interactive series. And that worked pretty well. The kids really enjoyed it, but what I found out is that they were building a lot of knowledge base, but there wasn't a lot of personal connection, and I really wanted to see that a little bit more. So this year we're kind of taking a little bit more of a devotional approach than we did in the past years. Part of that too was last year the kids were doing Awana, so they were each individually doing their own Awana studies and subjects and scripture memorization. And this year we're not going to have an option of Awana. We do hope to get plugged into a local church once we get settled, but with COVID, everything's just crazy. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for that space. But for the devotional part, we're gonna be doing something different on the different days. So one day a week, we're doing this 52-week Bible study devotional. This is from the Big Picture Interactive program. I think you've probably seen more things by that, but each day or each week they have a devotional over here that you read, and then you can scan a video. You can scan this page, it'll pop up too. They've got lots of options, and so they have like a video that you can watch and where you can read from the Bible. They have a Christ connection that helps you see Christ through that Bible story. And then they have Live Big, which is usually some kind of challenge, a way that you can live out the truth that you're learning in your life. And then some questions that kids might have that are answered, and some questions that you can think about yourself, and then a prayer. So the first day we read the devotional and watch the video, and then the second day we read the scripture, more of the scripture and the Christ connection and more of the interactive stuff. And then we do this book one day a week, Indescribable. You might have heard of this, but this is a fantastic book. You learn a lot about nature, and you learn lessons about God through nature and God's word. And so the kids really enjoy this, and it gives us lots of fodder for conversation when we're out in nature in general. So a couple that I have that are on my Kindle, I can't show you because I'm filming with my phone, is A Book of Prayers for Kids by Mel Lawrence. And it's just a book of prayers for little prayer samples for different times and things you might pray, and then it gives a little devotional thought to go through it, to go with it. And I decided to do that because one of my kids has been talking to me a lot about how they want to pray more, but they don't know what to say. And so I thought that the best way to help that situation would be to provide lots of prayers, and in the book it talks about when you might use this prayer, and so we'll talk about ways that we might reword that prayer to be personal to us, and those kinds of things. So it's just a way to open up the conversation and to help us focus a little bit more on prayer, and to help my one child with that. We're also reading twice a week, Grace for the Moment by Max Lucado, and this is written as a 365-day devotional where it's got the days all marked out. We're just going straight through it. We're only doing it twice a week, so it's not going to get hit on every single day, but we're just kind of reading through that, and so far the kids have been enjoying that, and I thought it would be a good way to focus on grace and understanding the grace that Jesus extends to us. And the last thing that we're doing, which we actually haven't started yet because again we're in the middle of the move and all the books that I want for this are packed up, but one day a week, and we do these every day of the week. So one day a week we will be reading, I have lots of missionary stories by Little Lights and also by YWAM publishers, picture books that really appeal to Lily's age especially, and Timothy's age, but Samuel enjoys them as well. And we read one of those a week just to kind of give us a little bit of inspiration to share God's word with other people as well. So that's that part of the morning basket. And then we have what I like to call our loop subjects. So this is history, geography, and science for us. And we don't do those all at the same time. We'll do kind of like a unit of one, and then when we get sick of it, we move on to the other, and we loop through in the same order. And we just take, you know, kind of just take them as they go. So that's the way that we do those subjects. And this past year, we did, for science, we did God's Design for Life, which my kids really loved. So this series is set up where the lessons are super short. Let me show you. So here's a lesson about the leaves and changing colors. You have a main question that you'll read, and I'll read that to the kids to help them know what we're kind of listening for. And then when you read it, it's usually super short. You can see how short that is. And then there's a blue box of an activity or an experiment or something, and this is for your younger kids. So this is for like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, depending on your kids. And then you have the green box, which is more advanced, which is going to be like your 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So that makes it really great for incorporating all ages. And I find that the reading, at the end of the reading, there are questions. There's the questions for the younger age group, and then there's harder questions that you add to that for the older age group. And usually we'll just read this and answer the questions together. Oftentimes we will do the experiment or the activity, not every single time. And what we've been doing, which I'm going to be continuing hopefully, is once we're done with our Bible, we actually have a storybook that I gear to my toddler. She's 2.5. And so I pick a book that I think that she's going to be interested in, a picture book. And I try to tie it in with whatever topic we're learning. It doesn't always tie in very well, but I try to tie it in some way. And so we all read that together. The big kids like it too. We'll snuggle around and read that. And then I read them this short lesson, and it's usually short enough that my toddler is she's not usually paying attention, but she can usually entertain herself pretty well for that time. And then after that, we either do an experiment, an activity, or we'll watch a video. With the animal ones, we've been doing lots of Wildcrats. With the human body, we had some Operation Ouch on YouTube that we were doing. And with the plants, I don't remember what we did with plants, but I've got it in my notes. So anyway, that's kind of what we've been doing, and this has been working well with us. So since it's working so well, we're going to keep doing it again. And what I did is there are 4 books in this series, and each book has 3 units, which you can actually get as separate books. You get them together as a whole from Masterbooks, and they come like this. You've got your text, and then the teacher guide has your schedule, but it's really all the worksheets and workbook pages and tests and quizzes and everything is all in here. So you can get this as a download and just print out what you need. I like to get it like this because I like having paper in hand. Some people will use them as workbooks and just get one for each kid. But then you could also get them from Answers in Genesis with each book separately. So like this has the World of Plants, that would be one book. The Human Body would be one book, and the World of Animals would be one book, and then you'd have one separate book, teacher's guide for those as well. They used to have the teacher's guide available to download for free. I'm not sure if they still have that or not, but there are 4 in the series. There's God's Design for Life, God's Design for Heaven and Earth, which is like weather and astronomy and earth science, God's Design for, oh, what's that one called? I can look it up here. Chemistry and Ecology, which is exactly what it says, Chemistry and Ecology, and then God's Design for the Physical World. So I talked to my kids and tried to see what they were most interested in for next year, and Timothy and Samuel, Lily will just do whatever. By the way, their ages are Samuel's 9, he'll be 10 at the start of next school year. Timothy just turned 7, and Lily is 2.5. She'll be turning 3 in November. So they both wanted to do the Machines and Motions and Inventions and Technology, which are in the physical world. So this is what we're going to be doing next year, and we're going to keep it pretty much the same way we've been doing. Now this one is very experiment heavy, so I'm guessing we're not going to be doing very much in the way of video for this, but I'm going to try to do all the experiments. I'm going to try. So we'll see what happens with that. So that is what we have for science. For history, I don't have the one that we did last year because it's in storage, but America's Story 1 is what we did. My children loved it. So we're going to be doing America's Story 2 again. Timothy, my 7-year-old, is especially in love with history. So as soon as we got this, he pulled it out and just started going to town with it. So this last year, what I did is we would just read through, and I would have read alouds that went along with what we were reading in here. We would answer the questions orally, talk about what we read. We also did Liberty's Kids and Drive Through History, which were great supplements for it as well. Like I said, lots of living books that we added to it. We even got to do a few fun field trips. I didn't actually use any of the worksheets or timelines or anything like that last year because my kids weren't ready for it. But this year I'm going to be pulling some of the activities from the teacher's guide for Samuel to do because I think that he is ready for that. So I haven't decided what exactly I'm going to do yet. They have timeline activities, they have mapping activities, they have creative writing activities, they have sketching and drawing activities. All kinds of things. So I'm going to kind of look through, and it might be different each lesson, but this, I have to show you the inside, you guys. So the way that this is written, I've been very interested in Story of the World. I've been very interested in Mystery of History. I have looked at them both and done them both. However, I have not felt like either one of them are written in a very engaging or compelling way. They were probably the best out there, and I still think that they're great programs, but the way that this series is written is so much more friendly, so much more accessible. I feel like it is just a lot more appealing. It feels more like you're reading a story. So that means it's not quite as heavy in facts and dates, but it does include them, and there are lots of opportunities for you to add that structure in very easily if you feel like that's what your child needs. But if you look at them, for each chapter, you have lots of pictures. So it starts out with some questions to think about while you're reading and an introduction, and then you read a few pages and you have a narration break, and we usually stop there for the day, talk about what we've read, do some activities, you know, whatever goes with it. I'm also going to be doing, hopefully with this, the read aloud books with my youngest in the same way that we do with the science. Hopefully that'll be the same across all 3 of these subjects. We'll do our read aloud together, then we'll read the content from the textbook, and then we'll do an activity. And these might not all match for a Lily, but I'm gonna do my best. So anyway, you have your narration break, and then you have another section with a narration break. You can see there's tons of pictures. And then you usually have a map section. Sometimes there's something different here, but usually there's some kind of map or some kind of special feature that explains things. And then you have all these pictures. Every single chapter has this page of pictures that just has rich photographs and original photographs, original artwork. And like by original, I don't mean made for this, but I mean like they are actual like historical images that, and then along with great captions that really help bring the stories alive. My kids love these pages. And then at the end, there's always something that attaches what you've read about history to our modern world, and then a few more questions to think about. And that's how each of the chapters is laid out. And we love this program. All of us do. We're so excited. I was actually disappointed when I got it because this book is thinner than the last one. And I was so sad because we love it so much. But after this, we plan to do, there's 3 in this series, and then Angela Odell also wrote a series for world history that we'll move on to next. So the last subject that we have for our loop subject, morning basket, whatever you want to call it, is geography. Now, geography has been a bear for you if you've followed me for a while. We were doing world geography with My Father's World, and we were doing exploring continents and countries, or countries and cultures, exploring countries and cultures. I think that's what it is. And I was adapting it. I was adapting it very heavily, but it just was not the best fit for our family. So then I continued to adapt it and was doing unit studies with it, and I felt like I was just doing so much work, and it still wasn't what I wanted. And then I decided I'm going to create my own geography program because I have looked and looked, and I really just cannot find what I want. I want something that gives the kids a full submersive experience, and I'm just not finding it. And so I decided I have an idea in my mind of what I'm gonna write. So I decided I'm gonna write my own, and I was getting ready to do it for this year, but then I realized, you know, if I really want to do this right, I need to give myself some time. So I just went with a program that I'm gonna use to bridge us through while it gives me some time to write a program. I wanna write a program that goes through each continent with Antarctica, Australia, and the Oceania area all kind of clumped into one, but where you can use the program and do one continent per year, or you can speed it up or do whatever. But that's kind of my dream and what I want to do. So while I'm working on that, this year we're using My Story 2 by Masterbooks. Honestly, I'm not thrilled about this program now that I have it and I've looked at it. It is totally going to work for what I need. I just need something to kind of be a spine, keep me moving, and it will do that. I've taken some of the content from here and I've split, we're going to all the places in this book. I've split them up into 3 parts. So the first day we look at the transportation, the animals, the area of the land. The next day we look at culture and language and those kinds of things, and usually we'll do an activity, either a recipe or a craft. And then the next day we look at some special feature that just has to do with that place. So it might be a landmark, it might be something really special that's only there. And we're going to be using lots of books. Again, I'll do the books with Lily first and then read with them. So lots of storybooks, some read alouds. We're going to be using primarily, there's a series on YouTube put out by National Geographic Kids, and it's called Are We There Yet? With kids that travel all over to these different countries around the world. We're using that a lot, and we're also going to be watching the Kids Try Food From Around the World videos. And then I'm also plugging in a few more here and there, but that's primarily what we're going to be doing. I did think though that I would go ahead and show you this in case you're interested in what it is and what's going on. So you have for each, I'm just going to open to the beginning of one here. Okay, so for each lesson, you have an introduction to the country, and the first paragraph is always about, we're going to go to the country by this transportation method. Unfortunately, the transportation method that is picked doesn't always make a lot of sense to where the place is. For example, in Australia, they do a deep diving submersible, which is mostly used in the Mariana Trench, which is not a part of Australia. They used it because they're going down under, and those go down under, which, you know, I guess kind of makes sense, but it's not used here. The one in China, I think it is dog sleds, but that's not when I think of all the places that you would do a lot of dog sledding, China's not the first place that would come to mind, nor is that the first mode of transportation I would think of in China. So anyway, just things like that. But it does start with a mode of transportation, and then it's got some information about the country or the countries that you're visiting. This is Nepal. It'll have some historical information. It'll have some terrain. Sometimes it's got some biblical tie-ins and things like that. And then at the end of each day, it has talk time, which is just a question that you discuss. And then it has thankful time, which is, they recommend having a tree that you put on your wall that's made of paper. And then for each, you have leaves. And for each time you get to thankful time, you say, I'm thankful for, and you put a leaf on the tree. It's a cool idea. Oh, and then this page also, for this day, there's also usually an activity, which some of these are like hands-on activities, some of them are ways to serve the community. They're kind of a mixed bag, but there's lots and lots of pictures. So that's another thing I wanted to say that I'm going to do with this book. For my kids, we're going to be keeping a travel log of all the places that we go. And the last day that we're at a place, they're going to cut out, because this is actually a workbook, it's a consumable book, they're going to cut out their favorite picture from that place and write a little bit about it, because I think that that will be good for them, and it's also a good way to use them. So the second day of each lesson in here is always a God's creation time. And it's just a little devotional about nature and creation. It usually has nothing to do with the country you're visiting or the place you're going, but you also will learn a phrase. I think it's Italian. I don't remember the other languages that you use, but just a random phrase. And then there will be a word find that goes with the area that you're visiting. That'll have words that are associated with the area. And then on day 3, you've got the flag of the country. I love that it explains what the flag means. You don't see that in a lot of places. It talks about the capital of the country and the type of government. It gives you another time to, every day you have a time to write on a leaf. And then it's got a little bit about government, economy, civics kind of information here. Today they're talking about the cost and buying food, and it's a basic economics lesson. And then you have here words that relate to what you've been reading through the week for them to do for copy work. You have a small activity. This is create a budget for a trip. And then again, thankful time. And then at the end, there's review time, which is just basically talk about what you've learned about this week. And then they have word collector, which is, they have all these words that are highlighted throughout, and they're not necessarily associated with what you're learning. They're just kind of random words, and they're kind of meant to be like a spelling activity for the child and a vocabulary building activity. And that last day, they also have a My Story journal. And this is a chance for them to answer questions about their own place. So if you could travel, where would you want to go? Why would you want to visit that particular place? It might ask them questions about the place they live, but this is about putting their story in with the geography that they've read. So that's kind of the way it is. Like I said, we're not going to be using a lot of this. So I plan to read the first day with them. And so we're definitely going to be doing that. We're going to be cutting pictures out from here. And we're also going to be reading about the flag and about the government. We're going to be reading the economy part, because like the government, civics, economics section, because I think that's good to know. But other than that, I'm just using this as a guide. But hopefully for any of you who are interested in that, you could see if this would be a good fit for you. So this is what we're going to be doing this year. Not super thrilled about it, but I'm hoping that it'll give me the time and the space that I need to write the program that I really want for our kids. So that is what we are going to be doing for our group subjects, for our loop, for our morning basket time, whatever you want to call it. And that's what we did last year and what we're doing this year, and we're really excited about it. I think this is going to be a good fit for us. Let me know if you have any questions about these in the comments below. I will try to leave links, but no guarantees. Internet here is really dicey, so I'm just going to do the best that I can. But for sure, ask questions, or if there's a link or something that I haven't put somewhere, just let me know and I'll try and get to you. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing this year, what worked for you last year, what that you're going to keep doing, what didn't work. I'd love to hear all about it in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.